Hey everybody,
Hi.
I'm Nathan M. McTague, this is Natalie Christensen, and we're the co-founders of the Center for Emotional Education. And today we want to talk to you a little bit about shelter-in-place struggles for introverts and extroverts, and how to help yourself.
So, extroverts, you know this if you are one, they're struggling right now. I say they because I'm not one. They're struggling right now because they prefer to be around more people, right? If you're limited to just who's in your house, that can feel limiting. So, extroverts are saying, shelter in place, I hate it.
Yeah. And introverts are struggling because they need time to be alone. And now that they're sheltered in place with more of their family and then more of their family more of the time, they're missing those opportunities that they would normally have throughout their day to kind of cuddle up and journal and have some quiet mind time and just do their own thing and to restore their energy. And so they may also be feeling kind of drained and I just need some space.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about what to do about that. But we want to point out that these are strategies to do when circumstances in general don't meet our needs. So, like right now, shelter in place is not meeting your needs. So that's the context that we're talking about this. But after shelter in place, we're going to be in other circumstances that also don't meet our needs because we can't always control the environment that we're in. So these strategies work in general for when circumstances don't meet our needs.
And by don't mean our needs, it may just mean that there are certain needs going unmet. While, for instance, you're sheltering in place, your need for shelter is obviously being met.
Right.
But there are other needs you have that aren't being. So if you're at a level 10 upset, that's likely that you're all the way triggered to a survival brain. And a survival brain reaction is usually something in the neighborhood of fight, flight, fright, or it's like appease. Yeah, I got thrown off because we usually say freeze or appease because that does rhyme. But the old version before appease came along was just fight, flight, or fright. So, at any rate, one of those four main kinds of survival reactions are the typical places where we would go if we're triggered to a level 10. And when you're triggered to that level, you pretty much can't do any planning. You're not efficient at managing things. You can't strategize with your family about how to have the time you need, either alone or with others. And so you're essentially paralyzed, even if you're kind of in a fight mode about it and really trying to be active, or even if you're trying to please others about it. You're still, and therefore active, you're still basically paralyzed from being able to take the kind of action that would really meet your needs. So one way to support yourself to get out of that is to take care of your body. So make sure you have a little snack or a little warm food. Drink a little water, a little warm water, or put something cozy on, or make sure your feet are warm and dry. Another way to do that is to trigger the parasympathetic nervous system into the rest and digest mode. And one way that we know to do that is this fairly simple technique where you you sit down someplace where you feel safe. If you can close the door, that helps to also tell your nervous system that you're a little bit more safe. And you lace your fingers together like this, and you put them behind your head. And you lean back. If you're on a chair, that helps. You lean back in a state of repose. And just with your eyes, you scan as far as you can to the right. Not moving your head, but just with your eyes. And you hold that gaze until you feel yourself naturally sigh or swallow. And then as soon as you have that natural response, then you shift your gaze to the other side. And again, without moving your head, now looking as far as you can to the left. And wait till you sigh or swallow. And you can keep just shifting your gaze back and forth as many times as you can over a few minutes until you start to feel yourself calming down. And we call this scanning the savannah. And I think of it as like telling your body, using your body to tell your nervous system that you are not in danger. You can see as far as you can see. You're in a state of rest, and you're noticing that there's actually nothing out there that's currently threatening your survival.
Yeah, and so just enhance that metaphor, you can tell when you're level 10 when you feel like a predator on the savannah, right? You're like, I'm gonna get, or prey. Yeah. Prey or predator. I started with predator, where you're just like, I hate my family, I'm gonna kill them, right? Like, that's level 10. Or if you're like, I gotta get out of here, I'm gonna bolt, I don't care about social distancing, so it's either a prey or predator reaction. That's level 10. And this convinces you, whether or not you're prey or predator, that it's not time to run from any danger, and it's not time to hunt for anything. You've already eaten, you're just chilling out, just scanning the savannah. You're like so chilled that you don't even turn your head.
Yeah, and when your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest part of your nervous system, clicks on in that way, it can renew you and give you a little bit more wherewithal, a little bit more resilience. And you're also likely to then shift into a lower level of upset, which means you may then shift into your emotional brain.
Yeah, so if you're at a level 5 upset, maybe it's because you started at level 10, you did the rest and digest, you got yourself some actual food and water, and then you bumped up to level 5. So you're still upset, but you're not hunting the savannah. And the emotional brain, so at level 5 is when you're probably in your emotional brain. And you can tell when you are, because you tend to be kind of droopy and schmoopy and wandering around, like pick up your phone 1,000 times and set it back down. And there's generally a story that goes with it, like, I can't do this anymore. Like, when is this gonna end? Like, when is it gonna end? And like, really? This is how it is? We're just like this every day? Like, you have this like kind of, I don't want to say dramatic because it has a negative connotation, but like a story that is
it's heightened emotionally.
It's heightened emotionally.
And people tend to call that dramatic.
Yes. That's what level 5 upset looks like, and that's the emotional brain. What it does is it's telling these stories to bring these emotions to the surface, because that's what it does. It handles emotion, and it checks the environment to see if it's safe to have that emotion, and then it is the driver to connect around emotion. So when you're at this level 5 state, what you want to do is, okay, so remember Nathan's strategy for the survival brain was to convince the body that it's safe. So what your strategy for level 5 emotional brain state is to convince your system that it's emotionally safe. Whatever feelings you're having, they're okay to have. So you find yourself schmoopy bloopy around the house, picking up the phone a lot.
Or angry, or noticing that you're actually like full on sad, or...
Sure. But the story is probably going to come first. And then you go, oh, I'm doing one of those stories. I've seen Natalie act this out before. That's me. I'm doing it. And you look at that story and you see what feelings you can pull out. Because our strategy for this state is notice, name, touch. So first you notice, oh, I got stuff going on right now. I'm irritated. So you're starting to name it. I'm just frustrated. I'm just sad. Like, I just feel lonely, or I just feel irritated, or I just feel, ugh. So you've noticed that there's emotion. Now you've named it. And what you want to do is now buy yourself some time because brain chemistry changes with more quickly with the addition of time passing. So you've noticed it, you've named it, now you got to buy yourself a little bit of time. And the best strategy for that is to add in touch. So you go and get a hug from somebody that you feel safe with. It can be a kid, it can be a partner, it doesn't matter. And you want it to be at least 30 seconds long. If you don't want to hug anybody, then you can do this for 30 seconds. Hand on the back of your neck, hand on your forehead. If you do this for 30 seconds and you still find yourself at level 5, it hasn't quite released enough, then you can go and do an internal touch. That's when you sit again in that safe space where you did rest and digest. Sit there, close your eyes, and do a body scan. And what you're looking for is any physical sensation whatsoever. So if I close my eyes right now, I take a deep breath. I can feel the texture of my pants between my butt and the chair. Take another breath. I can feel my heart. It's beating pretty fast because I'm doing this video, but there it is, it's fast. Oof, now I'm noticing some heat coming up. See if you can list 3, 4 sensations. Notice what they're like, and then cycle back through. Okay, still feel my butt, but now I can feel great. My legs touching as well. I can feel more there. My heart rate has gone down a little bit. I still have some heat, but it's more in my neck and chest area, not throughout my whole body. And you keep scanning and you keep checking on these markers until you feel yourself at a regulated state. One of the cues is that you want to open your eyes. Another cue is that you have a different thought that's unrelated to this situation or these feelings. Again, the idea is notice, name, touch. And just by noticing and naming the emotion, your system understands that it's safe to have those emotions. And then your brain chemistry changes, and then you have access to the next level of brain state called the executive brain.
Mm-hmm. And you may find, too, that as you do this, there are these little cycles. And we'll talk about that again in just a second. But where you notice where you are, you're at a level 10, you support yourself, you move up to a level 5, and okay, there's some making space for the emotion, you're doing notice, name, touch, and then somewhere in there you go, I just feel so bad about this that you're back at that level 10. And so you take good care of your body, you make sure that it knows that you're safe, and then you come back up and you can do more work with the emotion. And then eventually, hopefully, or even on your first round, you wind up giving yourself back access to your executive brain. Now, the executive brain is the part of our brain that is like the bright and shiny part of us. It's the part that knows all the things, that has done all the learning, that does all the remembering, that does all the creative problem solving, that's aware enough about who and how we are that it can strategize to meet our needs. It can even name the needs. So there's lots of things that we want to be able to do, and we need our executive brain to be able to do them. So going through the 2 processes that we've described for you already supports you to get there, no matter how triggered you started off to begin with. And then once you're in the executive brain, or in that state of being, then you can start to strategize, and you can brainstorm about how to address the actual situation or the actual issues that you may be dealing with. Now, one thing that we should tell you is that you will notice that when you are in an executive brain state, the issues that were really triggering you at a level 5 or really triggering you even more at a level 10 tend to feel quite a bit smaller. The experience of them is that they're far simpler to address once you're in an executive brain state, because that's the part of the brain that does that work. So we have a couple of ideas for you, both for extroverts and introverts, that just to sort of get you started if and once you are in the executive brain state, to be able to do some strategizing.
Right, because once you get into your executive brain, it's not like the shelter-in-place orders are lifted, right? Like the circumstances are still there. So even though you've soothed the feelings, you still maybe want to do something to meet your needs. And these are ideas, but what works best is for you to get into that brain state, and then your ideas are going to be the ones that you like the best.
Right. And if you're not there yet, you may want to come back and listen to this part of the video a little bit later, because these ideas will sound better to you then.
Right. In fact, if somebody gives you an idea, you should just, and you don't like them and you don't like what they just suggested, that's a clue to you that you're not in this brain state. So if you hate us for these ideas, that means that you're not ready for it.
And that's okay.
Yeah. So we've noticed some extroverts, I'm assuming they are organizing like neighborhood stuff where everybody goes out on their piece of sidewalk. We've seen organized Zumba exercises. We saw a call and response singing group last night on our walk. And you extroverts probably have lots of these kind of like group activity ideas because you like being in groups and doing things together. So once you get into this brain state, you might have some ideas for how to meet your needs for being in connection with people.
We've even seen some extroverts doing kind of a more spread out kind of hiking together, or
I've seen spread out hiking.
things like that.
Yeah.
We saw a trio of hikers actually. They were all out with each other hiking at some distance, and then we saw them back at the parking lot, and they all gave themselves hugs with each other.
The same time.
At the same time, yeah.
Of course, all the Zoom calls, Zoom brunch, Zoom high school reunion. You probably already know about that.
Yeah. Now, for those of you who are either all the time or a fair amount of the time on the other side of that coin and you're more introverted, we have a suggestion for you too, if and when you're ready to hear it. And again, these ideas are just ones that we came up with from things that we noticed out in the world or that we thought of. And we know that the ideas that are going to work best for you are going to be the ideas that you're able to generate when you're in that executive brain state. But again, here's an idea that you can at least toss around or maybe to get you going. We thought of setting up a house schedule for introverts so that you have a whole room to yourself for at least an hour every day. And it may take some arranging. If you have kids, you may have to arrange it with your partner to hold that space for you. If you have roommates, you may have to work around each other a little bit to make that happen. But this is an idea that you can set up in advance so that you can count on it each day. And for those of us who are introverts, that can be a real lifeline to know that you have at least that hour each day that you can rely on to be the time when you can be by yourself and check in to what's going on for you and restore your energy at that level.
I know another couple, they're both introverts, and they have an agreement not to speak until afternoon. Right? So like the whole morning, even if they pass in the same room, there's no obligation to talk, no obligation to comment on anything. It's just quiet time. And then they meet up in the afternoon and maybe they talk, maybe they don't. But the morning part is not for interacting.
Mm-hmm. And again, just to reiterate, once you're in the executive brain state, you're likely to have something else come up and invite you to either go to the emotional brain or even all the way to the survival brain. And what you do in that case is just go back through these steps. And it's sort of like a loop-de-loop. You go through it again, and then if you like when you're in the executive brain state, you do the planning, you do the strategizing, you do the executive functioning, you make all the arrangements, and you execute them beautifully. And then when you drop down to an emotional state or a survival state, you just meet yourself there and tend to yourself there.
You can actually only be in the brain state that you're in. Mm-hmm. You can't leapfrog, go from survival to executive. You have to step it to emotional and then to executive. And even if you notice, I'm in survival brain, I'm done now. I'm all done being in this brain state. Sorry, the brain chemistry is not on board for you to just go into another brain state. You have to meet the needs of that brain state. So body needs for survival, emotional safety for emotional brain. That being said, this video is probably not enough, right? Because a lot of us are struggling. This is hard. We've never done this before. It's not done. We don't know when it's going to be done. And so we urge you to get support watching videos like this, certainly working with us. We have lots of tiers. We have courses that start at $29. Get coaching packages with us. But we don't care where you get your support. We just want you to get some, because you can't white knuckle your way through this and just hold your breath. It's just lasting too long.
Mm-hmm. And even if you get really great at strategizing and meeting your needs in this sort of, hyper vigilant situation, there's a good chance that those needs will continue to shift and develop, and that there will be other things that you need to do. And so there just isn't enough strategizing that you can do from sitting right here to make it so that you won't have to feel what you're feeling about it, or won't feel like quite upset or even like running away from it. And so having someone there who you can rely on to hold that space for you and help you move through this process more efficiently and more easily, and then even to support you to come up with strategies to really assess your needs as they are right now and reassess them and re-strategize around them, can be so helpful, and can really make the difference between just barely getting through this time and really thriving through this time.
I will say that the support that is more in abundance right now is ideas like organize Zumba in your neighborhood. People are real generous with that that kind of support. But it's harder to come by somebody that's willing or able to just be with you as you tell your story and then pull out the feelings or help you look at the feelings. And so we're going to just guess that that's the kind of support you need more of. And so I'm just going to suggest that when you recognize that that's the kind that you need, to just go ahead and be real upfront with whoever you're approaching, to say, I just wanted to like dump a bunch of stuff at you, and I don't want any ideas or
fixes,
suggestions at this point. Like, I'm just going to tell this really sad story, and then if you can help me like identify what it is I'm feeling in all that muck, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Coach your support system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's be smart about it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. We hope this has been supportive for you. And again, as Natalie said, you can visit our YouTube channel, Center for Emotional Education, and there's a lot of videos we have there for supporting you. So hopefully you'll check that out and feel supported. All right. Be well.